My name is Lorna Peterson.
Nice to meet you. So what is your relationship to the program?
Well, that's a long story. My relationship probably goes back before there was a program. At the moment, let me say who I am. I'm retired, just retired last June as Executive Director of Five Colleges Incorporated, which I had held for 19 years and had worked for the consortium for 10 years before that. And so that brings us to 1980, but I had been involved with women's studies even before 1980, largely coming out of an activist background in what was called the Valley Women's Movement. And there was agitation at some of the schools, not all of them, but certainly some of them, Smith UMass. There's a need to have somebody teaching women's studies. And I remember when the first appointment was made, and then it developed into a program and then into a department. I did teach as an adjunct on and off in the program in the early, well, not in the program, but at the university. Southwest used to have a 4-credit course program that was taught in the evenings, and I taught women in Russian literature there, and then actually taught with Arlene Avakian. Team taught a course in women's autobiographical writing, or women's lives, I think we called it.
So do you have a favorite memory of your time in your various involvements?
There are many,
Yeah.
really many, and some have already been referred to by the other people that have been interviewed. I would say that the Black Studies, Women's Studies conference that we had, that John referred to, and I think that Joyce and John referred to as well, was phenomenal. It was there that I met more of the faculty members in women's studies as well as what was then called Black Studies, and we met, I think we met once a week for a while, and the conversations were just extraordinary. Many members of the Black Studies department attended those seminars, and I think it helped every one of us think through what we meant by the programs that we were involved in, and even though I was not a full-time faculty member, it was certainly influenced my thinking for the few courses that I taught, and also what it meant in terms of interdisciplinarity within the 5 colleges. And then several other conferences that happened in the 80s were also highlights, but the 60s meets the 80s was another one, and then sometime around 1987 or 88, we had a 5-college set of meetings to talk about the future of women's studies, and it was out of those discussions, in fact, that the 5-college Women's Studies Research Center that's housed at Mount Holyoke came into being. And I've been very involved with the center, with 5-college Women's Studies, as well as with UMass's Women's Studies program, and in fact am now a member of the executive committee for the UMass's Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies.
Wow. So the department has changed its name from Women's Studies to Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies. So what do you think? What do you think of the change?
My feeling is you have to get used to change, but in fact the title probably describes better what the Women's Studies program was about anyway. It's not as if it's a major change, it's just giving the title the broader description of what in fact Women's Studies has been doing for quite a long time. So I have no problem with it. It's a mouthful to get out, but I got it out.
Yeah. We'll get used to it. So last question, what are your hopes for the future of the program?
I would love to see a doctoral program in women's studies. As Joyce Berkman mentioned, I think it should be a 5-college program. The strength of women's studies in the Valley among the 5 institutions is enormous. It could be a phenomenal women's studies, women's gender, sexuality studies program. And the other thing I'd like to see, which I know has been talked about by some, is offering courses or certificates for women and men who are out in the field doing work, who would profit from taking a graduate course in women, gender, sexuality studies to help them with their own work and with what they're doing. People who may have graduated some years ago never took a women's studies course, and I think it would be good to have that kind of certificate program. for the post-baccalaureate group of people who might not want to get a graduate program, but could use such courses and such thinking in the kind of work that they now find themselves doing.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.